Okay, there we go. Again, welcome. Please silence your cell phones. Remember to bust your tables when we're all through this meeting. We've got a lot going on today. First of all, I want to welcome John Gregory back from his knee replacement. I asked him if he had a leg limerick, and he said, no, you don't have time for it in this full program today. So we will now have my co-singers come up and join me, my trio. We're going to sing My Country 'Tis of Thee.
1, 2, 3.
My country 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. Land where my fathers died, land of the pilgrim's pride, from every mountainside let freedom ring. Now the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Laurie Vidal.
Thank you. Thank you. Let us join together in prayer. As we gather today, we are all dealing with issues in our lives that require medical care at some level. And we are so blessed by so many with the strong medical providers we have in our community. We are all so appreciative of medical personnel delivering medical wisdom, carrying compassion and solid leadership at each level of care. We are thankful to receive guidance through our difficult decisions from those with strength to lead with integrity and grace, fostering a healing environment. And may our medical personnel be encouraged to emphasize our spirit of Rotary, service above self, as they seek to benefit patients in our community. I pray in the name of the great physician. Amen.
Now, Rotarians with guests, please remain standing as everyone else takes a seat.
We have somebody to take the microphone around. Randy, you got it? Okay.
Thank you, Randy. Well, good afternoon, fellow Rotarians. My name is Lauren Elliott, and it is my pleasure to have several guests here today. We have Mark Amox, our Chief Operating Officer for HCA Florida North Florida Hospital. Hey, Mark. We have Vaughn Thomas, our Chief Operating Officer for Gainesville Hospital. And we have Gabe Bullaro, the Chief Executive Officer of HCA Florida North Florida Hospital and Gainesville Hospital. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Amber Miller with United Way North Central Florida, and I have as my guest today our new Director of Philanthropy, Steve Cannon.
I'm coming, Ben. Hang on. Need roller skates.
Fellow Rotarians, I'm Ben Campen. It's my pleasure to have one of my grandsons here with me today. He is spending some time here in Gainesville, helping me around and so forth. And he's also going to attend college here next year. So if you need a good college boy to help you, he's here. So Carson Carroll.
And now we have a long-anticipated craft talk. And to introduce our crafter is none other than our Richard Allen.
Thank you. So it's my honor today to be able to introduce Alan Hawkins. Alan and I go way back. Alan actually goes back with this club, and he'll tell you about that. And his father, Tom Hawkins, many of you may have known for many years as a member of our club. I also want to just introduce one other element here, and that is that in 2013, when Roxa, one of our Cambodian students, was a young woman, a young girl, I think she was 8 years old, and Alan began sponsoring her between 8 and 9 years of age, sponsored her all the way through high school. She now has qualified to go to university. She is in the third year of university in Cambodia at the University of Economics and Finance, where she is actually studying audit and tax. So as an attorney, maybe you appreciate that. A lot of us probably don't. Anyway, thank you, Alan, and I'll let you take it from there.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you, everyone. I'm a reluctant public speaker, so it took me a while to get me up here, so bear with me, please. But it's a pleasure to be here. It really is. This club, I have a history with this club. I want to thank Richard. Am I on? I want to thank Richard for bringing me back into the club after having been a member 15, 20 years ago, and then quitting when I moved out of state for so many years. But last year we caught back up, and he invited me back in, and it's a real pleasure to be back in the club. It is special to me because, as Richard mentioned, my father was a member of the club, and he used to have my brother and I as frequent guests. And so as a kid, as a teenager, I have so many memories of the old Hilton on South 13th Street and that huge conference room. I don't think it's as big as I remember it, but it was pretty big. And so and just being back here to be involved with the Rotary community again means a lot to me. Especially in this day and age, our Rotary creed is more important than ever, and the opportunity to be of service is important. And coming back into Rotary it gives you avenues for that. And so I've enjoyed being more involved and thinking about service more. And I just love coming to the meetings because I see people I've known since I was a kid. And you guys know who you are. People I've known since I was a kid, taught me how to boat, hunt, and fish are sitting right in this room. So it's a special thing for me to come in here and be a part of the community. Gainesville's got such a rich community. My story, though, when I was a kid, when I was a young adult, I love Gainesville, but when I was a young adult, it was too hot and too flat. So I moved out west to the mountains. And I was out there for a long time. I was out there for about 12 years. But I came back to be closer to family about 2002 and to get a profession by going to the University of Florida. And so 20 years ago, I graduated from UF Law, and I've been an attorney ever since. My first job was at the state attorney's office. Prosecution wasn't in my blood. So I went to the University of Florida and I ran a program for a year and then went into private practice and business and was lucky enough to have employment there, learning a lot of really interesting things about how to buy and sell businesses, do reorganizations. And now I work for a firm. It's a decentralized firm. It's out of New York. It's called Duncan Bergman Mandel. I'm a corporate attorney. Do all the M&A I can get, but general in corporate governance, any kind of transactional work, anything a business needs, which is an enjoyable profession. I enjoy being an expert and helping people solve complex problems and have successful projects or make unsuccessful issues come out a little bit better. That's the fun part. The not so fun part is staring at the computer all day, and that's the only way to make money. That's kind of tough. I remember my first week, my first lawyer job at the state attorney's office, a car crashed into the Irish pub there at 2nd and University, caught on fire right outside my office window. I went running out there with a fire extinguisher, and I put out the fire before the cops came. And I remember my boss said, she said, "You're in the wrong profession. You know that, don't you?" So, but But I do enjoy what I do, and I like to help people and any opportunity to be of service. And so I'll end my little talk here with a plug for my pro bono practice, because the Florida Bar expects Florida attorneys to do pro bono work, and that's for free. So I enjoy helping nonprofits and tax-exempt organizations. So anybody who has a tax-exempt organization that needs any help, maybe they need new charter documents or reinstate their tax-exempt status with the IRS, feel free to refer me or come speak to me, because that's what I do when I can. So thank you very much.
What Alan neglected, your turn's not yet. Oh, close though, close. Alan, you can stay up here. I don't mean to, you can't sit down. What Alan neglected to tell you, that he still likes me even though I took out his wisdom teeth. Oh no!
All right. Well, thanks for sharing. Alan, come on up here. I'm the substitute president today, so I don't have a plaque, which, we're so honored to have you in our club. I mean, you're going to be a fantastic addition and do great things. So we really appreciate you being a part of it. So thank you very much. Doctor, do I stay up here? Is it my turn now? It is. All right. So I apologize. I am the substitute president for the day, so I don't have it all worked out. Couple of announcements very quickly. There is a Girl Scouts luncheon this Thursday for Women Who Make a Difference, and there's one seat left. So if anybody out there would like to attend, please let John Thomas know, and he'll get you a seat at the table. There's also something known as We Belong. It's a tabling event at First Magnitude. I believe it's April the 25th, which is a Saturday. And John went last year, and he said what he did is he set up a table, and it's an opportunity for not-for-profits and community organizers to get together and kind of share what it is that they do. So if somebody's interested in being part of that event and actually tabling the event, again, contact John for that. For some fun, there is a social on Thursday night. It is going to be at the Backadder Brewery. So if you're interested in that, that's at 5:30, starting at 5:30. And then finally, the only other thing that I have is as the incoming president, I would really like to get an understanding of what you like and do not like about the club. And so we all have our likes and dislikes, I'm sure, and so we're going to be doing a survey that comes out. Now, I know as much as everybody else, when I get a survey in my email, it's probably about the last thing that I'm clicking on. But I would encourage you, to do it. And then also, if you want to get old-fashioned, you can certainly just come and take me over in the corner and tell me anything that you would like for me to hear, so that I can take some notes and make sure that we're incorporating and understanding what our membership wants. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and have Melanie Shore come up here and introduce our speaker today. And thank you for all the guests who are here today.
Well, thank you very much, Jay. It is certainly my honor and privilege to be able to introduce our speaker today. I've had the opportunity and the pleasure of serving on the Board of Trustees for North Florida Hospital, and so happy to have our HCA family with us here today. So I have the privilege of introducing our Chief Executive Officer, which is Gabe Bullaro. And Gabe joined our hospital as a CEO in April of 2025. I'm going to tell you a little bit about his past with HCA so that you can know that he comes to us with a lot of experience, qualifications, and amazing success. So under his leadership at HCA Florida West Hospital, I hope I can pronounce all these things you did. He launched its comprehensive stroke program and transcatheter aortic valve replacement program. And he also oversaw several major expansion initiatives, something he's very good at, of the hospital services, including a new 6-story hospital garage, $5 million expansion of HCA Florida Perdido Bay, emergency. And also he had a focus on graduate medical education, which resulted in 4 more residency programs during his tenure. Now we're going to move on to his tenure as CEO of HCA Florida West Marion Hospital. And he also served as Chief Operating Officer at HCA Florida Ocala Hospital. Again, lots and lots of success and forward movement. Did lots of things there, added emergency bays, opened HCA Florida Maricamp Emergency in 2019, and then he assisted in the establishment and certification of HCA Florida Hospital Comprehensive Stroke Center back in 2019, and now it's one of the largest and most successful stroke programs in all of HCA Healthcare's history. So quite a lot of accomplishments. A little bit about him: he earned his bachelor's degree from Boston University, and we're working hard to make him a Gator, by the way. But his master's is in Duke, and so we won't talk about the Final Four or anything like that. But between degrees, also something that we're very proud of for and with Gabe, is he's a veteran of the U.S. Navy, and he served as operations officer for a helicopter detachment flying relief missions in response to Hurricane Katrina and the 2004 tsunami in Indonesia. Wow. Without further ado, let me introduce Gabe Bullaro.
Thank you, Melanie. All right. How are we in the back? You got me? Dr. Slayton? Yes? Yes, sir? Okay, great. Thank you, Melanie. For those that know Melanie, you know that she's got a heart that exceeds most everybody I know. And that was clear to me when we were moving to town. We didn't know anybody. We're trying to figure out what to do for lunch. And Melanie's like, well, I know just the place. And that was the first time in our lives that my wife and I got to sit at one table and our 4 kids got to sit at the other table. We're born again. I mean, I forgot that's a possibility. So thank you for opening my eyes to a new future. Waitresses in Gainesville hate us, but that's your fault. But anyhow, so yeah, I've been welcomed here with open arms, and it started with Melanie, but it doesn't stop there. If we can go to the first slide here, I'll share with you. I guess we're on the first slide, but if we can go to the second slide when you're ready. Oh, I got to turn this on? Don't tell anyone it's my fault. Okay, here we go. So above all else, we are committed to the care and improvement of human life. That is the mission of HCA at every single hospital. We have 190 of them. But I don't do that work. The people in the buildings are the ones who are doing that work, and that's made my obligation is to the people who are doing the work. My obligation is to you, the members of the community, and I know I will be held accountable, whether it's from Dr. Slayton or it's held accountable by Eric, who happens to know. As I'm walking in the room, I find out, he's like, I know your sister-in-law. So my sister-in-law and that's my wife's sister, and then her husband both went to UF. They live in Orlando. So the word will get out if I get off track. Dr. Joe Cawthon, thank you for the physicians in the room are going to hear me if I get off track, and I know you'll keep me on track. So my accountability is to my staff first, so they can care for you. And then I know I can't get in and out of a restaurant in town without 1 or 2 physicians saying hello and reminding me, if we're not doing something right. So, but it's the staff that are delivering the mission day in and day out. And that's the same mission at all of these 190 hospitals. We're also in England. If anyone happens to be traveling, we have 6 hospitals there, which gives us a unique insight into a different healthcare system. So if there were to be material change, we would have some practice in that type of government setup. But in any case, the bulk of our work is in Florida. 1/3 of our company is in Florida. 1/3 is in Texas. And the other third is other. And Mark and I both know what it feels like to be othered in the company. I was, before Melanie ran you through, I was in Pensacola before this. Before that, I was in Ocala in a couple jobs. And before that, I was in California. And we weren't in the, I think you can see it up there. We weren't in the West Division. We were in the far West Division. It was kind of like, don't bother us division. You know, the company is very central into the East Coast and Nashville. But we did great care in California, and some of those practices were brought here. Melanie had shared with you some of the programs that I've been a part of a team that's launched, one of which was a comprehensive stroke. The other one was the TAVR. I had done those in California before ever coming to Florida, so I got kind of my warm-up reps. But in any case, that goes to show that some of our best practices start somewhere else, and then we can bring them to a hospital near you. And that's the beauty of the scale of HCA, particularly in this day with the advent of AI. Who can spend the money to get in the game? Who has a closed system that can drive change, that can leverage the medical records, that can leverage all 190? We're bigger than the VA now, not because we got bigger, because the VA got smaller, regretfully. But we are the biggest privately held hospital group. So as we want to drive change, not to say that our neighbors here aren't doing their good work in Gainesville and in Jacksonville and in the villages, but a handful of hospitals is a heck of a lot different than 190 when looking to materially shift how healthcare is leveraging AI for the future. And this is not an AI presentation. I can't pronounce half the words in AI, but I do know that it's already come to our doorstep. It's already come to our doorstep where if you come into our ER, there are doctors that will ask your permission first, but then they will take out their cell phone and they will record the interaction. And the cell phone will dictate everything direct to your record, so that the physician can speak to you in terms that you will understand, and the computer will translate those terms to terms that a coder or an insurance provider or another referring physician or a subspecialist will understand. So it allows the physician to put the patient first. This is a unique moment in healthcare, and our company is moving very rapidly forward with it. It's arguably our greatest growth engine and our greatest contribution to the communities that we serve, which is not yet realized. So a very exciting time. The other piece to this network that I am a product of, Mark is a product of, and Vaughn's a product of, is the talent development. And I used to apologize for having to move occasionally. I don't apologize anymore. I knew the physicians in Gainesville when I lived in Ocala. Many of them lived in Gainesville and drove to Ocala. Not as much of the opposite happening, by the way. So not as much living in Ocala and driving up here. But it's wonderful to come home, in my view, to Central Florida. This company made that possible. 2 of my kids were born here at this hospital while I was in Ocala. My boss was the CEO, Brian Cook. He was the CEO of the hospital I'm at now. He knows how important Gainesville is. He will advocate. We get investments. We are heard. The CFO, who's in charge of the 14 hospitals, my boss has 14. I have 1.5, soon to be 2. But it's just like a military structure. So his CFO, the finance guy, he worked at North Florida right before this. So this talent kind of development is made possible, and our advocacy is made possible because all roads point to Gainesville for Florida. We are the biggest HCA hospital in the state. So the best talent, we compete and win for the best talent to come to your town. And so then that best talent can be accountable to you, just like I am, to deliver the care and put the patients first. So that's our network. Within it, what does that network produce? And you can read the slide. The one I'll call out to you for context is back only maybe because it connects for me personally, but 2 of my kids were born here in Gainesville. My other 2, there's 4 of them so far. We're stop there, I hope. But they were also born in HCA facilities. But But of the babies delivered, that 218,000 last year, 20% of the babies delivered in Florida were delivered at an HCA facility. It's a lot of babies. I mean, that's a lot of health care that's being delivered. And so I hope that gives you some idea of the impact across the organization and how that might tie to some of the innovation around healthcare delivery, AI, and I'll give you one example, a study that was, I don't know if I'll lose you on this one. Are you still following me so far? Am I okay with you? Okay. So hospitals, when they deliver babies, actually don't really make money in that part of the work. Generally speaking, hospitals will make money not in the entry point of a service, but at the highest level of the service. So the highest level of that service is the NICU, the neonatal ICU. So that's where, if the baby is not doing great, they can go to there. Babies that we're getting, I'm giving you an example of how a for-profit entity used the scale of the organization to drive change across the country for healthcare that went against what you might think for-profit healthcare might do. So we did an analysis of ourselves and said, which babies are getting admitted to the NICU? Why are they going to the NICU? Who needs that care? Well, it turns out the babies that needed the care oftentimes were babies that were induced a little early. Well, why were they induced early? One of my son, I hope he doesn't find this out, he was induced early because our OB was going on vacation. That's true. And every time he has a cough, my wife looks at me with this guilt, like we did that to him. I'm like, I don't think that's what happened, but okay. But he was that's the truth, and you probably have people that are similar. Our company determined that babies are getting induced early for no clinical reason, but for a convenience like the doctor's vacation. No offense to my physicians in the room. That's a bad practice. That drove up NICU admissions. We published it and we said, enough is enough, this needs to stop. And so we had fewer NICU admissions. And so we made less money. And that doesn't matter, because the mission is what I told you on the first slide. Above all else, the care for the improvement of human life. That's what we need to be doing. And so that's what we do. And that's one example of using the big scale of the organization to do research, to drive change, to improve outcomes, to make the place a better place to live. And that way I can stand before you with integrity and say, I'm here to help. In any case, there are other studies. There's a sepsis study that's similar. There are, when we could, I'll start getting out of my league here, but we have a brand new chief medical officer who, again, with talent acquisition, he's a second time through chief medical officer. He came up from South Florida. He wanted to be on the best team in Florida for HCA. And so he's here with us now, and he's a former OB too, so he's helping us with some quality change in that department. As we move deeper into who we are for you, I know that I am still perceived as a new guy in town. You know who we are. And we're here to stay, and we're going to continue to grow, and we're going to continue to serve. A new path of service for us to the community is through our bone marrow transplant program that Mark has taken the lead on to launch. That is a very complicated and difficult service to just jump right into. But you can see there some of our oncologic leaders. So Cheryl Hayes is in the white jacket there. She's a radiation oncologist. Dr. Macedo is a surgical oncologist. We do that work first so we can earn a place at the table, and then kind of the pinnacle of oncology care is this bone marrow transplant program that Mark has done a tremendous job to deliver. And so within that, there are different levels of care, and the ultimate, the most challenging, the very next one is something that we've got scheduled for later this month, which is called an allo transplant. So I can't skip over the tax stuff, but I don't want to sound like a politician. I assume you understand. We pay taxes. Every time someone else in town buys land, they don't pay taxes. There's implications. We got to keep this. We got to keep things running. We got to earn our keep, and we're thoughtful about how we invest our money. We have to be thoughtful. There is no donation. There's no bailout. It's purely owning our decisions and sticking with them and seeing them all the way through the end. We're accountable to shareholders, as you know, as a publicly traded company. So all of our access points, that's how a patient enters the organization. That should be pretty familiar to you if you've been around town for a little bit, all the way on the left-hand side of the screen. The one that's new that was just reported, is anyone here familiar? There's a couple urgent cares in town, one on Newberry Road and one on Archer called Avicina. Anybody been there? I won't like make you embarrassed, but can you raise your hand if you've been there? Or did we buy something we shouldn't have? Okay, good. All right, one person's been there. All right, well, we've purchased them. They also have locations in Jacksonville, which HCA is there too. So it makes us able to play. And they don't have a very big footprint here, but they've got 2 urgent cares. And in Jacksonville, they've got more. And so that acquisition just completed at the end of March. So that's one more way. Unfortunately, my family included, when you get busy, getting to a primary care physician, it's a little bit of a negligence where we skip appointments, and all of a sudden now you need to get something done, and that's a place where it can be done that will not trigger an ER level of care. So that's new for us as far as changing who we are to the community, so you can get in a little bit easier. We are connected to Lake City Hospital and to the Putnam Hospital out in Palatka. So if there's ever a service that can't be done there, for the most part, it comes here, and we help with that transport. I think when I got here, we had 5 trucks to transport patients, and then we had 8, and now we just got the money to get 3 more. We're gonna have 11 trucks running around town, moving patients. What matters to you as a taxpayer is previously your tax dollars were going to the Latch County Fire Rescue, who's moving patients between hospitals. That's not saving a life. I mean, it's just moving people. If one of us gets in a car accident, you don't want that ambulance moving a patient from one of my freestanding ERs to the hospital. You want that ambulance coming to get you out of your car and get you where you need to be to save your life. And so this is a supplemental kind of strategy where we're jumping into that space so they can be freed up to save lives. And that's a material evolution for us where we've basically doubled our footprint in about a year. And part of that is connecting back to these 2 other hospitals. So if there's services that those hospitals don't have, we'll get them over here. And then also trying to get those hospitals to elevate their services so fewer patients have to transfer. You can look at the other services on the right-hand side. I'll pause here to acknowledge. And then next, we're going to talk about the Gainesville Hospital, which is probably the one you're most interested in. In parallel to all this other construction and investment that's happening at Gainesville, on the Archer Road Hospital, we've got $25 million project going into an expansion of our central sterile department. Central sterile is like where the dishes are done for the kitchen, but for the OR, for the operating room equipment. So just like unless you have disposable kitchenware, which there are some surgical equipment can be thrown away afterwards, but a lot of it is reused. And so it goes through a process that's very delicate, and we are totally revamping that department. It's actually going to just stay like it is, and then we make it $25 million bigger, and then we just open the wall in between. And so we'll keep the pre-existing services and we'll add new services. I know that department was under scrutiny here before my arrival. I used to be a rep, a medical device rep. Melanie didn't cover that so you didn't miss it. If you're just catching this for the first time, this is the first time it's being shared today. So nothing against the intro, but what it gives me is some credibility and some understanding of what happens in the ORs. I've been in and out of ORs up and down the California coast, in Nevada and Florida and other places. I am familiar with what it takes to run a good OR, and I am familiar with when things don't go well. What happened here was not unique to Gainesville. What happened here was not unique to Gainesville, was not unique to HCA, but it needs to get better. And so we have been very thorough, again, under Mark's leadership, in revamping processes to a point where we have taken away systems that otherwise should be used, but we just won't do it because it's a little bit risky. And so we've had surveyors come through and check us and check us and check us and check us. And this hospital is the only hospital I've ever been to where they've walked out and said, hey, can we hire your leader to come do like audits of other hospitals? Because this is the best we've ever seen it. This is the best we've ever seen it. So it is completely, I mean, we had some challenge getting the 25 million because the people up in Nashville who are competing for the dollars to go elsewhere are like, well, you've already fixed it. Why would we give you money to, we had to sell them on, well, we're going to get busier, so we're going to need more capacity. So we got that done. Also, in support of the bone marrow transplant program, another 25 million. And this is just for the architects or the the engineers in the room to know we are investing in this community, not just myopic focus on the new hospital, but even at the main hospital. And there's more investment to come. At even our freestandings all the way at the left, at Stark, we've thrown in $5 million. We got another $5 million coming. So the financial investment in the community remains strong for us. But the most exciting one, obviously, is Vaughn's baby, the new hospital. I don't know if I'm going to recycle this one, but I'll share. I don't do well with people that don't work hard. My team works very hard. But when I encounter somebody who's sort of inherited a good position in life, I've said before, that guy's standing on third base and thinking he hit a triple. That is not, he inherited that. Well, that's what I am now. I don't know what to do about it. These guys have put in so much work, and I show up, and I'm on third base, and they get the credit. This has been a challenging journey. The state has learned a little bit about how to open a new hospital through us. It is going very, very well, but nobody has won a game of baseball before, leaving batters on bases. So now it's going to be a question of bringing all the batters home, and that is going to start with patient number one. We'll win it with service on patient number one. We'll win it with service on patient number two. We'll win it with service on patient number three. So for those of you who have not been there yet, the last slide, there's an invitation to an event we've got coming, but this gives you a little bit of a glimpse into what the inside looks like and what services will be there. Within the first week, we'll start orthopedic surgery, spine surgery, general surgery. That's probably it for the first week. And then second week, we are looking at getting into a few of the other service lines. It's partially dependent on the physician's availability and which ones want to be the first, because they're competing, some of the surgeons, to be, they want to be they don't want someone else to take the spot. So there's some who are, and then just like any other adoption, like an iPhone, some people don't want, who does the update like right away when a new update comes up on your iPhone? Like I don't. I find someone else. I'm like, hey, how'd that update go? So that we have some physicians that are kind of the second up. They want to wait a week before they do the update, and so they'll be phasing in. Any questions on these services? We have a picture here. You can think about that as far as questions. Picture here of what the operating rooms look like. It's like the Taj Mahal for a surgeon. And on the right, it gives you a little insight into back to that place where the dishes get done in between cases. That's central sterile. That is state of the art. It's designed, when we expand, this hospital has only got 4 operating rooms to start. It will have 8 operating rooms. We don't have the funding yet, but I assure you it's going to get busy fast. And when we do bump out, when we double the operating rooms from 4 to 8, we don't need to expand the kitchen kind of where the dishes are cleaned, because it's already big enough and strong enough and ready to go. So it's a very well organized infrastructure for growth. This is the gym that's upstairs. I'm almost done. I think the next slide is my last slide, if I'm losing anybody. But there's a gym in this facility because when we do the stroke service at the main hospital, what we're not doing is completing the post-acute care. We're doing the acute care, but then afterwards the patients are eligible for intense rehab. Think of like the most expensive gym trainer on earth. That's what's available at this new hospital in 30 of our beds, where the patients are going to learn again how to, some of the skills. There's a dining space where they can learn how to use a kitchen. There are stairs here to practice. That's a car. Does anyone else see the fake car there, how to get in and out of a car and learn how to use the steering wheel again. This is all to get back, and this is a post-acute setting, to get back into the regular living of life. And so there are 30 beds there, and there's shell space, there's empty space that's already ready to put in some more beds when it fills up. I have a feeling that will fill up rapidly. So that piggybacks very naturally on top of the comprehensive stroke program that was launched about 10 years ago here. So we can finish the care, not just for stroke patients, but they're the ones that are most commonly admitted. Our employees and our physicians keep asking for a gym at the main hospital. Maybe they can just go over here. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think they'll do that. Anyhow, so this is the event that I alluded to. I hope you consider coming through. The alliteration is impressive. The fun, the fireworks, the food. There's another family. So that, yeah, I'll have my kids there. So if anyone wants to help with that, that'd be great. They're young, so 12, 10, 7, and the 5-year-old can, she runs the roost. In any case, so that's coming up in just 2 Saturdays, is that right? So not this, is it that close? Yeah, not this Saturday, and it's nighttime too, naturally, so we could fit the fireworks. Although there was something about a fire warning of sorts, so maybe a burn ban. Are we going to ban the burn ban to be able to do this? All right, well, we'll figure that out. But I hope you consider coming to tour. I hope I didn't carry on too long, but this is serious work that's being done, not just at the new hospital. So this was kind of 2 presentations in one, and maybe 3, because I wanted you to get to know me a little bit. If you have friends in Ocala, you can ask them about me. I'm a straight shooter, and I'm invested in the community, and I look forward to earning your trust. Thank you. Do I stay for questions or do I sit down? Yes, stand here. Okay, that's why part of the reason why I talk so long is so you wouldn't be too hard on the questions. All right, let's do it.
Thank you for your presentation. I'm Deborah Newell, and I was a recipient of HCA care in the great state of Texas 23 years or more ago before I came here to Florida. And so thank you. I'm glad that you're dominant, I guess, in both Texas and Florida. My question is, can you tell us about the strategic discussion that went into selection of the site for the new hospital that is getting ready to open?
Yeah, I can try. And that gets back a little bit to the third base thing. You know, that land, so if you come, hopefully at these events, we're going to have the CEO that was here who bought the land, the CEO that was here, Eric Lawson, who's a dear friend of mine who's still in the community, but he was the CEO who got the hospital funded, which is a challenging process, and then me, you know, and so you'll have sort of the 3, and I just inherited a plan, you know, but part of the design was to look at where are patients coming from, and where will the growth be next? And it's difficult. I know you could very easily say, well, then why not go further west? But the business cycles of these decisions are rather long. And so having a hospital that's near the highway, it does serve some of the urgency. You know, we're not just building for today's need, but we want to be thinking about the future. And you know, initially, I think the high acuity patients, for the most part, people who are sicker, will drive right by the smaller hospital and come straight to the bigger hospital. But over time, that will evolve. When I was in California, I worked at a 2-hospital system, and when I was in Ocala, I worked at a 2-hospital system, and I became the CEO of the smaller of the 2. I was talking to the bigger of the 2 in Ocala just got a major capital investment, such that it was so many beds that had those beds been put at the smaller of the 2 hospitals, it would have become the bigger hospital. And so the joke within the company was, the beds were only put at the other hospital because they'll never allow themselves to be smaller than the small hospital. So there's a little bit of a ego piece to it, but really it's about stacking the services so that you can have high acuity services closer to each other and services that are designed to be a little bit more of the boutique type, closer to each other. And I think that was a lot of the decision making here, is close enough that you could tap into the high acuity, but far enough that you can capture a couple, have a new access point, and then within that, be a little more efficient. Now at Chan's and at my hospital, from the time you turn off the street to the time you walk in, it's slower. You got to park your car, you got to walk a good distance. This hospital will be way more efficient on that for the first 10 years or so. So that's part of it. We're also can I tell them that we sold some land, or is that? Yeah. Okay, so we did sell some land adjacent to Alachua County to put a fire station right next door. The city, sorry. But so there'll be a fire station right next door. That is a complementary service, so we want to be positioned such that we are supporting the mission of taking care of the community. And had we gone much further west, it would have, I think in the future that could play, but for right now, this is the way to stay close to the population density, but also close to the highway. So that's how'd I do? Do you have anything else you want to share, Mark? Okay, that was a loose answer, but good. Yes.
Hey there, Terry Wilson, retired nurse. Great presentation.
Thank you, Terry.
My question, a little bit to a follow-up with what your last remarks. What advice do you have for patients in the community when they're trying to determine which of those two emergency rooms to go to for their care? Would it be go to the mothership for the most complex care, or go to the closest hospital?
How long have you lived here? 40 years. You might be able to answer better than me. So my standard answer on this is, if you think you need to be saving your life, go to the big one. That's the way we used to do it in West Marion. If you think you're pretty sure what's going on and you just want validation, or you need some testing, or it's not going to be like right now, so heart attack, stroke, like time-sensitive care, go to the big hospital. If it's a step down from that, the small hospital will do great. And then if it's a step down from that, the freestanding ERs, just like what we already exist, and Shands has one, two, but one down the street, the Kanapaha one. We've got the West End, Mill Hopper, so Stark is a little further away. But those are meant to serve a community that otherwise would have to drive really far. Let's get them in the system. Oh, I didn't mention earlier, when I mentioned the 8 trucks that used to be 5 and now are going to be 11, bless you, we also just purchased a helicopter. And that's going to be on the west. That's kind of to your question of geography. What is the right asset for the right geography? Well, for going further west, it gets pretty spread out. So now we have a helicopter out there. That just is like, anyone see the press release? That's like 2 or 3 weeks old. I mean, it's new stuff. So any case, so we can participate in guaranteeing the access. And if you go to one of those the ERs, any of the little ones, or the smaller hospital, imagine that there's just a long corridor from the big hospital to the smaller ERs. You're in our building. Once you're in our hands, we own you for a lot of reasons. Not in a negative way. You're our responsibility. And therefore, there are no financial obligation for you. If we put you in a truck to bring you, you don't spend any, that's not on you, that's on us. If you were to be there and say, well, and I've done this, my daughter, I was foolish, my daughter fell off the jungle gym, and I took her to the ER, and Lila was like, come on, you're fine, get in the car, strap on your seatbelt, you buckle yourself in, and she's crying, and that was wrong. I should have been more caring. We took her to one of the freestanding ERs, and they're like, yeah, she might need surgery. And I said, get in the car. That's wrong. We're not allowed, once you're in our building, leaving is AMA, that's against medical advice. As a nurse, you know that. And that's what we did with my daughter, because that's what we chose to do. You have a right to do that. But once you're in our system, that's our problem to solve. I just want to give you assurance. I would just say for efficiency, if you think it's pretty mild, you know, the Gainesville or one of the freestandings is just fine. And then a step below that is now these urgent cares that are a new service for us that we are integrating into our system. So, did I answer your? Is that okay? Okay, thank you. Yes. Oh,
it's okay.
That's
No,
it.
it's fine,
All
it's
right.
If there's additional questions, I'm sure Gabe will stay after. Gabe, thank you so much for your presentation to us today. Obviously, you're passionate about healthcare. We really appreciate you being in our community and HCA being here as well. Thank you to all the other leaders that were here in our community. We look forward to your grand opening and continue to be part of our leadership. In your honor for giving the presentation today, we are making a donation to the foundation in your honor. So thank you very much for being here. With that. So, great stuff. So the quote of the day, it's health that is real wealth, not pieces of gold and silver. And that was Gandhi that said that. The winning number today is 989, last numbers. Anybody have that? With that, we are adjourned.